wanted to give a perspective from an ordinary person what it's like to deal with it on a day-to-day basis and be really transparent about the ups and downs of overcoming and getting to the place that I'm at now.
Yeah. And so that's such a powerful point that you're able to get to that place where you're able to talk about it. Um, we were just having a brief discussion as we were even preparing for today's show that many people are not able to talk about it.
Hmm.
What provides you that courage? What gave you that confidence to be able to even put pen to paper to even write this expose?
I guess I just felt like it was needed. I wanted to give people hope and encourage them and also educate because there is a stigma with anything that deals with mental illness. And I wanted people to know that they're not alone and just to let them know and give them some tools, hopefully, to equip themselves on how they can overcome and live a normal life. I mean, I've been able to live a very beautiful life, get married, have kids. I'm a grandmother.
Oh wow.
Um, and I've been able to travel and do all the things, have a successful career. And I just wanted people to know it doesn't have to limit or stop you from living your life.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that because when people are diagnosed with a mental health disorder, for many of them, they do feel like it's a death sentence. They feel like it is something that will now stay with them for the rest of their life. And for some people, that disorder or condition may be with them for the rest of their lives, but it doesn't have to be who they are.
Right,
I've been studying a lot about identity, and your condition, your diagnosis does not make you who you are.
right.
I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Well, at first, when I was diagnosed, I guess you do experience a little bit of a loss of identity of who you are because it's like now they put this, it's kind of like a label on you.
Hmm.
Um, but, and I also kind of went through, they talk about the 5 stages of grief, like denial and being angry and things like that. But, once I came to terms with it, that, this is something can be managed. You take medication for it just like any other thing, diabetes, or if you have cancer or any type of physical illness, you take medication and no one thinks anything of it. But when it comes to your mental health, it's kind of, frowned upon if you've got to take medication and do kind of things to manage it.
Yeah. And let me tell you, it is such a hot button topic. As we know, mental health is something that many of our governmental leaders, our civic leaders, even our religious leaders are really taking a close look at. And in your book, in the introduction, you mentioned some of the celebrities who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Hmm.
And I was just reading back through it. I just opened up the book, and again, the book is "Gird Up Your Mind." And I am going to ask, how did she come up with that title? But let me just stick with where I am right now.
Okay.
All right. So I want to make sure people see that. And thank you for all those who are on StreamYard letting us know that you're able to hear us clearly. But you were talking about the various celebrities
Hmm.
that have been diagnosed: Patty Duke, Jennifer Lewis, Carrie Fisher, Mariah Carey, Kanye West, Demi Lovato. I didn't even know these persons had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, so that's amazing. And then those who had completed a suicide, such as Kate Spade, celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain, um, and then Naomi Judd, which was just that was just so sad when she completed that suicide the day before she was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then I'm just looking up right now. We just lost unbelievable talent in the gospel music industry world, and really the music world. Mandisa.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah, and they're still looking into it. For first of all, we want to send our condolences to those who have been affected. I'm just learning now that I may know some people who were directly affected by her death, and they're still wondering the cause of the death, and they have not ruled out that it may have been self-inflicted.
Hmm.
Um, I really want you to speak to the people out there who are living with this stigma, and again, talk to them about how to be able to have that courage to overcome. Because as we see, it doesn't matter your status in life, uh,
Mhm.
you will end up in a place where you may think that all is lost.
Yeah, like NAMI had a campaign out where they said it's okay if you're not okay.
Right.
And I think people need to know, I mean, that if you need to get help, that that is okay, and not to feel like they're less than because they need some professional services. So I think that's important. It's important that the family members, sometimes they see signs or things that are going on, and not to be afraid to kind of speak up and let them know what they're seeing. I my pastor said something to me, like sometimes when you're driving, for instance,
Hmm.
and you you don't see a car that's in your blind spot.
Mm.
Okay, so your family helps you to see things that might be in your blind spot that you can't see. And so I always say it really takes a village. It takes, your family, your friends, it takes your mental health professionals, like your whole team to help you, and don't be afraid to ask for their help.
Absolutely. And so thank you. And I see people are really coming in online. If you have any questions for this author, Nikki Collier, please, you can share them. You can literally go on social media right now. You can go to my social media pages and type in your question. You can call into the show if you want to speak with Nikki to get some encouragement, or you want to purchase her book. We will, by the end, before the end of the show, allow you to be able to hear how to be able to purchase the book. And so I'm lifting it up here so you all can see. You can get and call 443-380-2803. So let's go to the title of the book. How did you come up with the title of this book?
Well, the title of the book, um, I I was reading something in a book by Rick Renner, Sparkling Gems of the Greek in the Greek, and he had it's like each day has a reading, and he was talking about girding up the loins of your mind, and he was talking about how Orientals, when um, they have to take the dangling cloth and gird it up in their waist. And so I kind of look at that, like you can't really effectively run your race in life when you have things that are dangling down. So you kind of have to gird up those things, those entanglements. And also it also applies to your mind, that you have to kind of like gird up your mind. It's like a call to action, like you said in your book, like you said in the forward, when you
My
wrote,
book is coming.
yes, when you wrote in the forward, you were talking about it means to equip yourself mentally and emotionally with the necessary tools and resources to get back into the ring and fight for your desired outcomes in life. I mean, it's almost just like,
Wow.
also Pastor Kevin, my pastor, was preaching about that he's been talking about the full armor of God, and
Yes.
you got to put it on.
Yes.
And the first thing you put on is the belt of truth. And again, the Roman soldiers had to take that cloth and tuck it in their waist. But now, it applies mentally, that we have to, like, we have to gird up our minds, the loins of our minds. We have to just protect our minds from the mental assaults that we encounter every day. And so we've had to put on the full armor of God. We have to do all of that.
Absolutely. And so when you talk about girding up your mind, you really are looking to see how do you protect your mental well-being. Let me tell you, people, that is such a valuable gift right now. There are so many people who come to me, Shepherd, how can I protect my mental well being? I'm getting questions asked on that on a daily basis, even more so about physical, because truthfully, if your mental well being is in order, it will hopefully line up with your physical body. And most times it does. And so many times you can have a physically fit person, as we have seen with some of these celebrities, On the outside, they look like they have it all. I believe you even mentioned uh, uh, Twitch. I think that's
Yeah,
his name.
He was
Yeah,
on Ellen DeGeneres show. Yeah.
right. And just people look like they have it all or all together, but in their mind, that's where you see so many deficiencies.
Hmm.
And let me say something else when you were talking about truth. You have to be truthful with yourself when you're struggling.
Hmm.
And that right now is such a um, faux pas, if you would, because people say, I want my truth and I want to be truthful. But when it comes to how people are feeling and how people are struggling, it really takes a lot of courage for people to be truthful about how they are really doing. And go
Yeah,
ahead.
and there's another commercial. I work in advertising, so I pay attention to the commercials. But Samsa has a commercial where they're talking about, like, bipolar disorder. You're not gonna diagnose that by a thermometer, or depression by eye exam. I mean, it takes people such as yourself to help diagnose different things that people are dealing with, and to determine whether they need medication, or what course of action they need to take.
And let me tell you, I appreciate your courage on coming on this show because you are a faith believer, you are a Christian, and many would say, Nikki, you're a faith believer, you're a Christian. How do you come on here and say that you have a mental condition?
Yeah, because I think that's where what we try to educate and bridge the gap. And I know Bishop Robinson does a lot with this, with the church and the pastors, and then with the mental health professionals,
Yes.
is that, it's a chemical imbalance,
Hmm.
and it's something that needs to be regulated by medication. And it's no different than regulating diabetes. And it's not that you don't have faith, it's not that you don't believe, it's not that you don't, it's not, you're not lacking in that respect. It's just a matter that you need medication to manage what you're dealing with. And God works through medication.
He does. That's why I have a job. Thank God. Thank God. Absolutely. And you want to make sure that you are with the right person who knows what he or she is prescribing. So you want to make sure that that person is well vetted and has gone through the trying process. But I tell you, thank you for sharing that because you're helping somebody today. I believe that as they're listening to the show, there's someone out there who has been wrestling. Do I take the medication that the doctor has been prescribing?
And wrestling is part of the process. I wrestle with
Mm,
it, and I didn't take my medication when I should have been.
wow.
And then, things happen, and spiraled out of control. And, so it's like, and then, or you take the medication, you feel better, and then you don't think you need it anymore. So, I mean, it's something that you just have to take as a maintenance, just like you would for any, like if you have high blood pressure and you have to take that medication. If you get off it, your blood pressure may get high and other things can happen. And this is no different.
Yeah. And I'm getting some wonderful questions. And thank you, Charlotte Poole. She said, to thine own self be true. And thank you for that quote. But I have a couple questions here. Some comments from some folks all the way in Kansas and back in Chicago, my hometown. One of the persons asked, this is Julia Thuston. She says, if one can't admit, how can it be addressed? So it may be a statement, but it also is a question. So how would you help that person
If they can't admit it.
if they can't admit it? Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think it's a process that the person goes through. They, like, again, they start with denial, and then maybe being angry, and they go through almost like the stages, like
It
I
is the
mentioned
stages of
before,
grief.
of grieving.
Hmm.
But eventually, you know, through the help of hopefully their family and friends and other people that are resources, counselors, doctors, whatever, they're able to get to the point where they're able to recognize that they do need help
Yeah.
beyond whatever it is that they're doing, because what they're doing obviously is not working, and they need to do something else to be better.
Yeah. Some sensitivity is definitely needed there.
Yeah.
And just as you're helping someone who may be grieving the loss of a loved one, I remind people that grief has more doors than just with the bereaved of a loved one, or the death of a loved one. We can grieve a job. We can grieve the loss of your ability to work due to injury and things like that. There's so many different things that people grieve. Even with this election process, people are grieving because there's transition that's in the air.
Hmm.
It's amazing how grief really grapples and unifies us also too.
Hmm.
So we have to remember that. Let me just, I know we're winding down to our last 3 to 4 minutes of the show,
Okay.
but there's one point that I've been emphasizing over the last few weeks as we've been talking about living in the new place. And that point is that you can grow where you are planted.
Hmm.
Now, that is a powerful statement, and it does apply to your book
Yeah.
because once you found yourself in that new place of dealing with bipolar 1 disorder, and and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about what more of that looks like. Today was just to set up the foundation, but we know we look forward to having you back to talk about that. But go
Well,
ahead.
and if you get the book and you look in the table of contents, it's
Hmm.
all about seasons out of
Mm,
Ecclesiastes. So
yes,
a time to lose, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted, and it goes on and on.
yes,
But I broke it out because uh, each chapter was there was a certain time and it was a certain season of something that was going on in my life, and so
wow.
we all go through, like you said, you've been talking about. We all go through certain seasons.
Right. Yeah. And thank you. And I did note that. I didn't realize that as I was reading the book, that each chapter was relating to Ecclesiastes and a piece where it talks about the various times and seasons that we all go through. But let me tell you, when you go through your season, that doesn't mean it's time for you to up and run and uproot. I want to remind people that you can grow where you are planted. And that is such a powerful statement. It really relates to what you're talking about. Because once again, you found yourself in that season or house, if you would, of dealing with the mental health disorder, you were able to grow. You were
Hmm.
able to get yourself together, look through the soil, if you would,
Hmm.
and pull up those pieces and say, you know what? I'm still going to have a successful life. I'm still going to be meaningful. I'm still going to sprout up and let my leaves and let my branches and all those things blossom and bloom. I can hear Psalm 1. I can almost hear Bishop right now as he would join in. He's like, Shepherd, let me take it over. It's Psalm 1, a tree planted by the rivers of water that will bring forth its season, bring forth its fruit in its season. And so we're thankful for you for allowing you to be so transparent. And again, I believe we will continue this conversation, but your transparency is to be uplifted, is to be brought forth, because now in this season, you're able to write this book. Isn't this amazing?
Yes,
So, why don't you
thank
let
you,
the people
Lord.
know in our final minute where can they get this book?
They can go to my website, girdupyourmind.com. They can go to Amazon. I think it's on Barnes and Noble online, Target online. So those are some of the places that they can go to.
Okay, but one more time, let the people know where we can get this book. You say girdupyourmind.com,
Right? They could go to Amazon.
Amazon, okay,
I think they can also go to
Barnes and
barnesandnoble.com,
Noble, okay,
target.com.
okay, great, great. Is it on Audible? You know, I,
It's not yet. That's coming.
Okay. All right. All right. I love listening to books on Audible, you all, as I'm driving back and forth to DC on the train. Let me tell you, I've been able to read some wonderful books and definitely want to make sure that this is in your library. Make sure that you go and support Nikki Collier. Gird up your mind. It will be a blessing to you. It could be a help to someone. Someone's asking, how do I let someone know in my family if they're struggling with mental illness? Why don't you go ahead and get this book? Get this book. Maybe getting this book may be able to help them to be able to work through that struggle, maybe able
And
to work
start
through
the
that.
conversation.
Absolutely. And so thank you again. We are
Thank
out of
you.
time. And so this has been such a powerful episode of Spirit and Mind. And so thank you. please go to our website. Please go to our social media pages and like us and subscribe. And let me tell you, we will be back. We will be back with some more powerful information. Thank you for all those who have been out there supporting us. And we want to let you know that you are blessed, that you will be encouraged, and that we love you. And guess what? We'll see you next time on Spirit in Mind.
I know you.
How do you know me?
You know Donna Lee?
Donna Lee Peters?
Yeah.
Are you her son?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yes,
we used to interact.
yes.
We
I
used to
saw you
interact
know
when I
what
was
the,
working when I was
no,
working at Pivot.
the last time I saw you though was at a funeral.
Okay.
It was
My
somebody.
uncle.
It was somebody's funeral. Was that March?
Yeah, I think it was my uncle.
Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say I
Oh,
know.
you know what? Because your hair was all out when I saw you the last time. Your hair was like all like it was like way out. Yeah, yeah.
I tried to tame it now.
It wasn't braided like
Now
that.
I got a
How's
job.
your mom enjoying
She's
retirement?
doing good. She's enjoying it.
Oh
She,
my
I
God.
would say she just got into a space where she can start to travel again like she used to all the time.
Yes, because I
But
know COVID had her down,
yeah.
And that was hard for her because she goes on a trip every week.
Yeah, so she